Okay. So, hi everyone. I'm going to be watching a video of a dude who is going to eat a 90 plus year old vegetable soup. Now, some of my comments are don't eat it, don't, you'll hurt yourself, no, stop, and don't eat anything with rust. He's eating dried out fruit that was probably over 20 years old. Um, you should never do that. Um, I think the fruit dried up naturally. That's not good. So anyway, he ate really old food. He has tested food out and never eaten it, but he didn't use gloves. And I'm just going to make this video as a precautionary type thing, and it's going to be to teach people not to do things like that. And I kind of re-recorded this video because I did record it, but I don't think it really like caught on, I guess. And by that I mean I don't think it really recorded properly. So, yeah. I'll have to test out the videos before I can delete them by watching them. But he was going to eat it, and it's not wise to eat this because everything has an expiration date.
Vegetable mix for soups, stews, and
Oh,
salad.
he's already been dehydrated. So the other fruit may have been already dehydrated, and he says that now usually when he opens these cans, he says it smells really, really great. But just because it smells good doesn't mean you should eat it. Antifreeze tastes sweet, but if you eat it, you die. And at least that's what someone said. I never drink antifreeze. And cannibalized food, and like if you eat human meat, it tastes sweet. However, it can cause a very severe illness to come upon you that kills people. Like there was a group of people who would commit cannibalism as a culture and ritual, but they always got sick. And they did it so much that very few of them had developed an immunity, but most of them were still getting sick. So yeah, you definitely shouldn't eat people. Eating people can also cause heart problems, even when your body does it to itself. Like, sometimes against a person's will, if they're starving, the reason people get thinner is because the stomach acid is kind of attacking the rest of your body, either to survive or just because you don't have enough food to stop it. And it can cause you heart problems, pretty much. Like cannibalism causes heart problems, and anorexia, which this is a symptom of, causes heart problems too. It's probably eating you.
It serves 8
Don't eat
people,
people.
vacuum packed. So when I open this, there should be a suction unless it somehow leaked, which it probably did, because this thing is really old. This thing is probably from the late
Now, I watched the video, and he said that he noticed there was some rust in it, and I had to play the video all the way back for you guys. I didn't watch the whole video, but I watched probably like almost half. Just 13 minutes, and I think I was up here. I've never used this voice before if you watch my other videos, which is totally okay, and I really like this voice because it sounds so sweet.
1920s, possibly even earlier. This is from British Columbia, Canada.
Wow.
These are the directions I will be following. Behind me,
So,
I have 4
he should really look at the expiration date because, well, some things don't have expiration dates. I would suggest not to trust them. Like, if you see something without it, you shouldn't trust it.
cups of water boiling. 4 cups of water in 1 quart. So I'm going to empty it out into.
No previous cooking is required when adding Bullman's vegetable mix to meat, pigs, or wait, to meat pie, or stews. I'm full screening it. It's already on full screen. So here we are. When cooked, may be used in place of fresh vegetables. Add contours of this package to 1 quart of water. Cook in a covered pan until most of the water is absorbed. 12 to 20 minutes. Yeah, don't ever do this, especially with a can this old.
To
Use in your favorite recipe. No previous cooking is required when adding Bowman's vegetable mix to meat pie or stews. Just because it says it, remember, these things have an expiration date, which means that there's a time where you can
there,
actually eat
it says
this.
cook in a covered
I'm glad to be raised in a Christian family because they teach you things like not to do this.
pan until most of the water is absorbed. Now, a quart is a lot of water. So this stuff I'm expecting to expand a lot. And now you can see the packaging is in pretty good.
I'm intrigued by it, but if he was wearing gloves and wearing protective gear, and, testing out the food and doing everything safely, it would be more acceptable to me. But, he's not really that protective of himself. A guy named B. Cab Mac says he posted this 6 months ago. He says you shouldn't dump it and dispose of everything right away after you try it. Wait, what? He said you shouldn't dump it and dispose of everything right away. Well, wait, no. He said you shouldn't dump it and dispose of everything right away after you try it. So I guess this is something that you shouldn't do. Don't dispose of everything right after you try it. Because if you miss something and get violently ill, there will not be anything to do a culture or test to identify the contaminant or do proper analysis. So don't dump it. If you ever eat something like this, don't dump it and don't dispose of everything right after you try it just in case you get violently ill so that they can do a culture test to identify what's wrong with it or the contaminant so that they can give you the proper help that you need. If you find food that you have to actively keep it so that you don't get hurt or that they can treat you, you shouldn't eat it in the first place. There will be not anything. Okay, so he said you shouldn't dump it and dispose of everything right after you try it. Because if you miss something and get violently ill, there will not be anything to do a culture test or to identify the contaminant or do proper analysis. Whether it be heavy metals like arsenic, mercury, etc., or toxic organisms and or other chemical structure that changed or occurred by cooking or adding water during prep process. Keep a testable sample at least a week. It would be important for getting correct diagnosis and treatment. This needs to be shown to the entire freaking world. A person said this guy is insane. Yeah, I was cooking leg and guts on my stove. Now let's eat 90-year-old food sealed with lead to enhance the effect. Why would you do that? Let me see if he actually did this.
Good condition for its age, but here I can feel beneath the label lots of decay, meaning this thing got wet and there's rust underneath here expanding.
No, you should
And
never
right
do
here you
that.
can tell
Rust is
there
very
might be some
dangerous and deadly.
compromised areas
No,
underneath
don't
this.
do this.
Here's some
Don't,
more
you shouldn't
instructions.
touch
I'm
this
not
with
going
your
to be
bare
following
hands.
these ones. Overall, the can's in pretty good
Do I sound
condition. I'm
like
going
a
to remove
load?
the label before we open this because I want to see
I sound
if
cute like a
the
YouTuber.
damage is bad on the outside.
I think it's a
I'm not
really
going to get this label
soft
off
looking
because it has
YouTuber.
literally rusted to the
I
can.
don't sound
As you
exactly
can
like
see
her.
right here where I started removing it, it started ripping the label because the rust is holding it on. You can see there's some pitting, but
Don't
I'm
eat it.
still unsure if it
It's got a
actually
dent. You
was able to
shouldn't eat
penetrate into
canned
the
food or
can. We
cans that
won't
have
know that
dents
until
in
we
them
actually open
because,
it up.
well, I don't really
And
know.
we're going
I
to
guess
open it
the
up
lead
right
can get
now.
into it because the can
Here we
breaks and
go.
particles come out. Just don't, because that could hurt. I don't know why,
Get
but
that thing on
I'm
there.
pretty sure there's a reason. Because when old people tell you stuff, it means that maybe they
Absolutely
think
no
of it
vacuum like
to
it
tell
said there
you,
should be.
like, 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 if your grandma tells you not to eat something because of like they say something strange like don't eat that can because it has a dent in it or don't eat that can if it has rust, that means that there was most likely a news report back in the day that told them, hey, don't eat the can because of such and such and such, or don't eat the food in the can because of such and such and such and such. If they say don't eat the food in the can because there's a dent in it, 99% there was a news report back in the day that reported the reasons why, because back then all they had were news reports, and they learned from these news reports and shared the like they didn't tell you the details, but they shared just don't do. You see, sometimes parents will tell you not to do things, but they'll never tell you why. And the reasons why are always kept hidden. And there are actually good reasons why you shouldn't do it, but but they never tell you why. Like they'll say don't be promiscuous. And usually it's either for Christian or cultural reasons, but some actually have good reasons for it, and then you do it and you get an STD or you get pregnant, you're like, what happened? And they're like, well, promiscuity can sometimes cause STDs and pregnancy. Did you know that promiscuity can cause let me see. Yeah, if you have sex too much, it can result in anxiety and depression. Like it can cause that. There were higher rates of anxiety and depression when New Zealand did a test or a statistic on it. And they also found that basically uh it's more common in people under the age of 18, like minors. That stuff really shoots high for them, so yeah, it's not wise.
That looks actually really good. What are those little pieces of noodle in there shaped like gears? If I didn't know better, I would think this piece here is bacon, but I
That's not
know it's
bacon.
not. What's this smell like? For something that's probably 90 years old, at
My
least,
mom would look at this and go, she wouldn't go crazy, but I know she'd have a very negative reaction.
smells pretty good.
Just because it smells good doesn't mean you should eat it.
There's literally no
It's
odor,
tricky.
like bad smell from it. Smells
Are
like
dudes like
spices.
this?
I would
Are dudes
consider
more
this
likely to do
like
this?
oregano.
Not
It
even
smells
my
just like
dad would do
oregano, so I
this.
guess dehydrated fruit just about lasts forever. I
I
ate
want to
some
show my dad
dehydrated
this
fruit
just
from
to
the
see his reaction. I
the
should totally. Well,
60s, and
I don't
that
think I should.
tasted okay actually.
I do want to film his reaction
When you
because it's really
dehydrate something,
funny.
it allows it to last like forever. Look at this. Look at the pieces. So that should
But I
expand
can't right
into a
now.
cube once I add it to the water.
He's gonna be really confused.
Look at that.
I
What is
need
this
to
supposed to
send.
be, like alphabet soup? I see a 7 in there.
Don't eat it.
Does it say anything like that? It doesn't say anything about it being alphabet soup or having the weird designs.
Don't
It's
eat
fascinating.
it.
The inside of the can looks really shiny. Let's dump this out so we can see if there's any compromised areas.
I'm saying this because I give a crap about you. Oh, there's compromise. I see compromised areas every freaking where.
All looks good. Look at that. All the
What are you
vegetable
talking
was
about?
jammed at the
What
top
does
of
it
the
say? Look
can.
like garbage.
Definitely looks like
Did you
alphabets.
grow up starving? Is this all you had to eat for years? Are you somewhat
So this is soup
quarantined?
all by
Are you
itself.
okay? This video I think was posted a year ago. Are you stuck in the house?
Smells
Were you
good. I
kept
can
in the
hear the
house for
water
several
starting
years?
to
Are you in a
violently
situation where you
boil,
have to stay underground for several years? Then I'd
as a lot of
understand.
old cans say.
Are you trying to eat all your leftover supplies that may be expired or dangerous?
Inside of the can.
Is this all you have to
Yep,
eat
the
when you're
rust
stuck
did get through in
underground
a
or
few
something?
places.
Can you leave?
But we're
I
still gonna
understand if you did.
try this
Oh,
out
it's
because it
kind of
seems to
dented
be
on you.
okay.
Oh,
In
it's
order for
dented
Russ
on
to
the
start
inside. You
doing
made it
that,
look like that.
this can got wet at some point in time.
Where did you
This is
get this
nice. The
can?
label, it's textured. It's raised. Feels nice. Now it
The last thing I saw him eat, well, he didn't eat it because it was he knew it was
How would you
toxic.
like to help
But
local
I do
businesses
know
and get
that
compensated
he
very
said
well,
there
all
was a lot
without
of
ever
pressure, there was a
leaving
lot
your
of
own home?
dents.
Hi, my
It
name is
smelled
Chance, and
like
I'm feeling
you could
extremely
get like
grateful right
air by
now. A
opening it,
little
but
over
you had to
4
open
years
it
ago, I
slowly.
started building a simple
Or
officeless
else the juice
business
would spray
agency.
out and it could hurt
Now, I
you.
operate this thing.
Also, it's like really toxic. There was a lot of lead. Like he had a lead chart, but the lead that was in the stuff went off the charts, and so did the iron, off the charts. Literally off the charts. Like he looked at the charts and it was really high. It showed colors that, and it was from the same type of test strips, and both test strips were the same. It was just from the same kind of thing, and they were all just off the charts. And he even beat off the rest of the soup from it, and it was still off the charts.
But shouldn't
Just
be
off the
feeling textured
charts.
here because I'm feeling those rust bubbles.
Luckily, he didn't eat that.
I think our water is just about ready.
You shouldn't eat
The
this.
stove looks all nasty and stuff, but it's still effective. The reason it looks all burnt and messed up is because I used this thing a while back for melting down lead into ingots. So I bet the people who packaged this probably never even imagined it would be cooked on an electric stove. Because back in these days, I think they did have gas.
You shouldn't eat this. And don't use your stove for iron ingots. If you're gonna do something like that, put something on, like, don't let it just fall into the freaking stove. Cause that's fire and you don't want anything to like burn the house down. I guess. I don't know. I don't want the fire getting out of control. You should put something over the thing, not just directly put the who am I kidding? If it's big enough to burn it, if it's hot enough to burn an iron ingot, it can burn anything you put underneath the iron ingot. You shouldn't have
Stoves,
cooked
but
this
most
over
of
your
them were
stove. I don't think this
wood
is a good
burning.
idea. Is that what the commenter was talking about? Don't eat it. I'm looking at that.
I gotta go grab something to stir this with. I just cannot
If you're
see.
going to do that, at the very least, pour the boiled water out. Like, skew the boiled water out and replace it. Don't eat it.
That amount of water
I don't think if you did
being
that, it would
absorbed
solve
into that
something and
amount
stop
of
something
vegetable,
from
like the
hurting
instructions
you.
clearly
It's probably
says, one
already
quart of
absorbed its way
water.
into the food. Now you got
It
just a pot
says
of
12 to
boiling hot
15
iron
minutes
and rust.
using your favorite recipe.
Stop it right
So
now.
maybe it is just soup. It's gotta be soup. But it does say it until most of the water is absorbed. Okay. That's gonna be my cover for now while I go grab something.
Okay.
How is our progress after just 5 minutes? Oh, that looks good. Got the broth and everything. The soup is now at about 10 minutes, so it's just about done. Now that it's cooked, it doesn't smell as good as it originally did, just like the time I ate 1950s pasta. Out of the box, it smells great, but once you cook it, you can start to smell the rancid part in the noodles. That's what I'm starting to get now.
Stop eating with the fluff. Wait, what the fluff? What the fluff? Fluff. What are you doing? What did you say? What are you doing, mister? What's wrong with you? This idiot is going to eat 90-plus-year-old vegetable soup, dehydrated vegetable soup, and the water in it dehydrated. He's eaten dehydrated fruit before. He thinks it makes it unspoilable. He once cooked a pasta, and he thought it was good. Like, before you cook it, it starts to smell really, really good. After he cooked it, like, he cooked some noodles, he found that it smelled really, really rancid. And he smelled the exact same thing with this soup. He smelled the exact same thing with this soup. With this soup. This soup. He said after he boiled it, he started to smell the rancid in it. And guess what? He was boiling it to eat it, mommy. To eat it. He knew it was 90-plus-year-old soup when he wanted to eat it, and he saw the rust on it. He literally told us there was rust. But he thought it was good to eat. This isn't even something my father would do. Boiling it is not going to help. To all the old people, just because it was good in 1990, it doesn't mean that it was good here. An old woman nearly killed her grandson. She didn't take his peanut allergy seriously and gave him food with peanuts in it. Next time, the mom started to trust her. The mom saw that she gave her grandson, who was probably 5 at the time, just like when he ate the peanuts. I don't know how old he was, but he was under the age of 10, I think, or under the age of 12. She gave him some milk that was in 1994. The boy ate it after the year 2000, and she was giving him milk from the 1900s. And she said, I guess in 1980 something, it was good. Mom didn't let the woman see her child again. Or at least, you obviously can't let some people cook for your kids.
A rancid odor. But before we actually do
He
all...
says this has a rancid odor. I am confused and flabbergasted. This is disgusting.
all this, I'm going to take a little dripper here, and I'm going to attempt to take a lead test. I'm going to fill up this little container. It doesn't matter that it's not clear, because once it's
Please don't
spread off
eat this if there's lead
onto the, whatever you'd call it, onto this, it won't matter that it's brown. Now, we don't care about the pH and all that. I just want to see if there's any lead in this. So I'm going to go ahead and put this down into here. Give it a little swirl. Take it out. And you see how it didn't really stain any of them, even though it's brown, because it's such a small layer. Now, I'm going to let this sit for a minute just to make sure. There shouldn't be any, but it's possible, because back then they sealed cans with lead. The results are in. First off, things that don't matter. The hardness is 120. No chlorine. The iron, nope. No copper. And no lead. Great, there is no lead. Okay, so this is fine. There's no contaminants as far as metals.
There was rust.
Hi there, I'm Jeff Bishop. I'm the co-founder of RagingBull.com. I'm one of the top real money options traders in the entire world. I want to share with you today something.
God, I can only hope God just deleted all the contaminants so as not to kill him. I mean, if it's dehydrated soup, I guess you wouldn't get much lead or anything in it, or metal in it, because there's nothing to soak it in except for other solids. But like, that food is still like, if there's no metals in it, then there's bacteria in it. So he should definitely check for bacteria. He has something that he can actively check for bacteria with.
This has now been going almost 15 minutes. Go ahead, shut this thing down.
I'm pretty sure.
Move it over onto the cold
burn.
burner. Get my spoon out. See what we have. Those noodles expanded to be huge.
Oh gosh. Stop eating.
Look at the gears now.
I hope God just depleted all the
Get a
deadly stuff.
little bit of a sniff. So, when I opened it up, you could really smell the oregano, whatever herbs were in there. Super nice. Now, it's smelling kind of musty. Let's try this out.
No.
To be honest,
Why didn't he just check for bacteria?
not too bad. It's bland, but that's about it.
He must be kept
Okay, because a
underground.
lot of people doubt that I actually taste test this stuff, I actually have to show myself doing it. So here we are.
Wait, no.
Take a look at the soup.
Yeah, but we don't see it going to your mouth.
Gotta cool that down. That is hot.
Don't eat it. We can't
Really
see
hot.
you. One prayer for him.
Now
This is not what I'd imagine he'd look like.
that's pretty good.
I thought he was a blonde with glasses.
It's really bland, but it's not terrible. In a survival situation, that would keep you alive. This dehydrated soup mix definitely held up to the test of time, better than any other food I've ever opened. 90 years, almost 100 years, possibly.
Are you in a situation where you're stuck underground?
This has held up. Its
Are you
appearance
in a
looks the
bunker?
same. Flavor is just about non existent. The smell was great at first, not so much now. I don't
Listen,
encourage.
sometimes when I there was something smell can sometimes be a bacteria. Like there was little pockets in your nose that cells that basically when these cells come into contact in those pockets in your nose, it results in you being able to smell it. Those are probably bacteria. They get into your nose, they get into the little pockets, and it makes the way you can actually smell the food. I also found that the reason why your armpit sweats is not the water, it's the bacteria on your armpits that make it smell. Also, boogers are literally just nose hairs catching a whole bunch of bacteria. Turns out the reason why you have boogers is because the bacteria that goes into your nose, some of it gets stuck to the nose hairs because your nose is directly above your mouth. In fact, if you were going to snort something out of your up your nose and spit it out of your mouth, you could do that pretty easily because the canals, the airways, it's open. It's like there's a free pathway. If you were gonna walk through somebody's nose, like shrink yourself, walk through your nose and climb into their mouth, and climb out of their mouth, you could actively walk. Like if you could walk on walls, you could actively walk at a small size into their nose and then basically walk out on the ceiling of their mouth. They're that close. And this is to keep you from getting killed because you have to breathe through your nose. So the bacteria, and naturally your body wants you to breathe through your nose mainly for this reason. So I guess yeah, pretty much. So basically, the bacteria goes like in through your nose and it gets stuck to the nose hairs. And these are harmful bacteria, and this forms boogers. This is why you shouldn't eat your boogers. This is why you should wash your hands after touching your boogers with bare hands. This is why you should use napkins to touch your boogers. Because it's actually very unhealthy to eat them. It's unhealthy to touch them, but not use soap when you wash it off. It's just unhealthy. You do need to wash your hands
Encourage anybody to
with
try anything
soap.
old. This is for an experimental use only.
Also, hand sanitizer is 70% alcohol, which is really flammable. If you have, like, some people have gotten third degree burns because they were near a really, really hot surface to where there was fire going. And because alcohol is flammable and the ingredient, and there's 70% out of all of the ingredients. Out of 100%, there's 70% alcohol in hand sanitizer. If you were to like put your hand near your arm, rub your arm with hand sanitizer and put it near a flame, that flame would definitely set your arm on fire. Like you may not even have to touch it all the way, but like you definitely would. And the thing about this is that you may try this out and you may notice, oh my gosh, my arm hurts, but why don't I see any fire? Well, it's kind of like it burns like jet fuel. Um, the fire is kind of well, you need to turn the lights out to see the fire. You'll see smoke. You'll definitely see smoke, but you have to turn off the lights to see the fire, and it'll show blue fire. And if you have a blue sun, the blue sun is actually the hottest sun. Like a blue star, stars are made of fire and gas. And the blue star, the one with the blue fire, is the hottest. Red is not as hot, and yellow is in the middle. So we're dealing with something that may be the hottest fire. So you should never put on hand sanitizer near a flame. A Native American teacher tested this out and showed us. You can find the link on Facebook. Like they literally just filmed the process, so be careful with that.
Let's pour this out, see what we got going on.
Yeah, you can't put on hand sanitizer near a flame, turns out.
Now I can show the soup up close. I also don't think it's supposed to be that tint.
That's
I
not
think it's
good.
darker than it's supposed to be. Some of the vegetables. Because even though they're dehydrated, they're not supposed to lose their color like that. I don't even know what kind of vegetables these are. Tasting them, you are clueless to what this stuff might be. But you can see the herbs all around the edge. That made it taste pretty good. And still, that rancidy smell that the water activated. It's one of those smells. It smells awesome when it's dry, but when it's wet, it's disgusting. I'm going to go ahead and feed this to the drain.
I hope he doesn't get violently ill. I think he gets against it. Okay, so his channel is called New England Wildlife and More. So yeah, look, a TikToker drank 1 liter of cough syrup. This is what happened to the brain, most likely. Um, I can see him getting on this show, Chubby Emu. Lots of bad things happen to people on this show, and it's a medical thing. I can literally see guy ate 90-year-old vegetable soup. This is what happened to his brain. And it'd be right here if they went to his hospital, right here, and he'd break down every single problem, all the molecules, the cells, and tell you exactly what it is. Explain it down to the T. Watching him is watching education, and sometimes looking at the stupidest things people do. Like legit. He'll tell you to the T, to the detail. He'll tell you to the L what is wrong. What's gone wrong in your body. Watching him is like saying exactly like in that movie they'll say if you do this something really bad will happen. And like what? And he's like something really bad. And watching him would explain exactly what would really bad happen to you. I'm smiling. Anyway, so that's what would happen. Please don't do this. This is not safe. Don't eat anything with rust. Probably. Is this alphabet soup? I see a 7 in there. I see a 7. I wonder why the can doesn't say anything about it being alphabet soup. Shows the can, which has a gigantic blue 7 in 2 separate locations. Oh dear. Oh, he's still alive. Technically, yes, because Jesus rose up from the dead and, like, kind of saved everybody. But, like there was a thing that happened where Jesus died, and in 3 days he went down to hell, took the keys from Satan that gave Satan authority over the world. Satan was having a party at that time, celebrating Jesus' death. During the party, Jesus came down, took the keys that gave Satan authority over the world away from Satan, and then Jesus rose back up from the dead, and he took all the saints that were trapped in hell. Jesus preached in hell, and he took all the saints that were captive in hell out of hell and rose them from the dead. He took the people that listened to him. So not only did Satan lose authority, but he lost a lot of the people he held captive. Also, Jesus rose up from the dead, and Satan was celebrating Jesus' death. You should read this in the Bible. You should find it. So, great. Totally ruined Satan's day. That was the best days ever. So, Jesus was God, basically. That's how all that happened. You'll understand when you're a Christian. It takes big. You know what? In the Bible, it says God can literally do anything. Also, in the Bible, death is separation of the soul from the body. So, while Jesus' body was dead, his soul was still roaming around. Like his spirit and soul were just still roaming around. It was still roaming around, basically. So, yeah, that's how all that happened. And basically, since God can do whatever he wants in anything, and Jesus is God, that's how he was able to do those things. I mean, legit, it literally says that he can do anything in the Bible, yet people find it so hard to believe it. I mean, if you don't believe in the dude, why are you still trying to apply human mechanics to the guy? Did you not learn enough about spirits? I mean, yeah, he gave himself a human body, but his spirit was still God. Like, he still let himself have a God spirit.
Daughter, look what she does with what he taught her.
so now we're going to watch why Bible accurate angels are so creepy, which I think we'll watch in the next episode because I think this video is long enough. It is.